gross. Yo, what up? It's your boy Brent, aka Backpack B. Welcome to a new episode of Quick Cuts, where we're going to be talking about my top 7 favorite knives from Kizer of all time. Very hard video for me to make because I may have a small, incy-bincy Kizer problem. Knife problem in general, but Kizer problem for real. Before that, we're going to get into my honorable mentions. So right after honorable mentions, we'll get into my top 7. If you're new here and you like this video, slash that subscribe button for me. We'll hang out every time I put out a video. So hope you enjoy yourselves. Peace out. Whoa, well, look-y here. Some knife nerds showed up. Ha! I faked you out. These are not my top 7 right here. These are my honorable mentions. I want to dive into them really quick because I love Kizer knives, guys. I've always had a huge love for them in my collecting. I love what they do with design. They push design, and I'm a big design junkie. They try new things before other companies might, so you find a lot of crazy designs from Kizer. They use a lot of designers that I like. They do the basics really well. The titanium with the S35 is what I fell in love with first, but they've been branching out, doing so many new things. They've really designed so many knives that I love. So let's get into my honorable mentions, starting with the titanium October here. When I first got this knife in, I was like, whoa, dude, this just feels like a much more expensive knife than it is. The major thing that I love here, I love the pivot collar there. I love the fuller on this knife. I love it in hand. It feels really comfortable. There's a nice place for your thumb. I love the milling on this knife. I love the thickness of this knife. The one thing I would change on this knife is the cutout for the lock bar relief is very, very sharp, so it kind of like ruins your pocket. I don't know. The milling on this is what called me to it, but yeah, it didn't make the top of the list because there's just so many Kizers I like, and the top ones have a really special place in my heart. Next up is the Dogfish. This is a kind of a more recent release. Number one thing that called me to this knife is the circular milling pattern, and this aluminum is really cool. I like the blade. So this blade actually I customized with my Galaxy wash. It kind of is like a texture that feels like it has some depth to it. I like the button lock on this. I think that it does a really good job balancing all its deployment methods and still feeling very like thwacky. That thing flies out. It's slim. It's got a cool titanium clip that I really like, and I just love the aesthetics of this thing. It looks really cool. I love the forward finger choil or a half choil. In hand, very comfortable for a big hand. Yeah, so this is an honorable mention for sure. Execution of aluminum on this is awesome. I don't like onlays really. You'll see some onlay knives in this, but if they could just be inlaid, I much prefer that. So this is just a really cool one, so check it out if it is speaking to you. Next up is the Clipper Kingsford knives. Love the design of this thing. Very simple. Again, I really like a Warney or a sheep's foot type blade. The sharpening choil looks really modern. I love the simplicity of this design, and you can flick this, which is really cool. I love multiple deployment methods, specifically not just being like a flipper. I love the color of the hardware on this bad boy. The blade is just so simple and nice. Look at that. Look at the way the light hits that. These are aluminum scales that have liners. I would prefer these to be inlaid liners, not onlays. Overall, love this knife. 3V, nice steel, good price. All the things that Kizer does well. Next up, very popular knife recently, the Militaw. But this is the baby Militaw, and the size of this just really does it for me. It doesn't really demand a lot of space in the pocket. I love what they're doing, experimenting with new materials on the minis, like the G10 with the acrylic inlay. I just think that looks really cool. I want to see more acrylic scales out there. I like the milling on those scales. Yeah, this is the popular knife that everybody talks about. Didn't make the top 7, but it's up there. It's good. Now, this is Kizer's most famous knife, the Sheepdog. I think there's 2 amazing variants of the Sheepdog. It would be this one, the titanium one, specifically the one with the hole in the fuller. I also like the one with the whole thumb stud and the clutch lock in aluminum purple scales. I think I have that somewhere. I might show it on screen if I can find it. But just very good knife and really aesthetically pleasing. I actually don't carry this as much as I should. I like that really big beefy titanium clip, but it is dialed, dude. Like the detent is perfect for the blade. Big choppy blade on it. Yeah, just a great piece. Didn't make the top 7. This is kind of one of the ones I think is very underrated. The Begleiter is a model that a lot of people like, but you'll see it in a lot of like G10 or like carbon fiber variants. The titanium variant with this blade is so sick, dude. This is a sneaky blade. It's got a hollow right there, but then if you look really close, you can see that it's a compound grind. I love the fuller on this. I added the thumb stud, but this is just so slicey, very thin behind the edge. I love the blade on this thing. I could do without these like cutouts. I'd like it to be like simple titanium scales, simplify it a little bit. It doesn't really need that extra design element, in my opinion. I think that's what keeps it away from being like the top one. It's not my favorite design, but functionally this knife is amazing. Highly recommend it for the slicing. Next up, the VK1. Yeah, this is a chop. So I love this knife. It almost made the top ones. I don't know who chopped it. It's normally a much bigger knife. I love the micro milling on this. So micro milling is really cool. That's got a nice flipper that fits the aesthetic, but mainly I love it because you can flick it from down there with your middle finger. I like the clip that's on here. It's a secondary clip, like an NXG clip or something like that. Yeah, honorable mention. And last honorable mention, oh yeah, baby, the Guru. This almost made it too. This is such a good value. Right now you can find these for like under $100 if they still are out there existing. They might have all been bought up because that was such a good deal. Rounded scales, love that. I love the speed holes. Some people might not like that. I love that. Just really comfortable knife, and I love the aesthetic here. Super comfortable in hand. This is one of the first Kizer knives I was obsessed with. Has that old retro Kizer pivot right there, like the rose pivot or whatever they call it. Great knife. Didn't make the top 7. So let's dive into that top 7. Honorable mention. I love a lot of other ones that didn't make the list, but this top 7, you'll see, they are money. Let's get into it. All right, it's time, baby. Hold on, let me zoom in a tad. Boom, you can't even really see them, so let's go through them. There are 7 here. This was really hard for me to pick. I will start on this side. These are in no specific order. I can't pick like first place to 7th place. It's just, that would take me forever. I couldn't even pick 5, dude. That's why I had to make it 7. So this is the Sparrow, specifically the titanium version of that. Why? Because boom, there's something different to this Sparrow. I chopped the flipper and gave it a 4 finger choil knife. It's one of my favorite mods ever, actually. And look how simple that is. I like the simplicity. This is titanium and what type of steel? S35. I kind of just love the titanium S35 combos. Sparrow looks aesthetically great. That thumb hole kind of looks like the Militol thumb hole. Really good flicking position for the middle finger flick. I like the titanium clip. One thing that I notice on this is it really scratches easily, this titanium coating they put on it. It doesn't really have like a stone wash completely to it. So I'm probably going to do my own stone wash on it, which I do to a lot of knives that get like scrapes. Good way to make it like a working finish. And yeah, the handle is very nice in hand, specifically with this forward finger choil. Learn how to do a flipper chop, okay? It just takes a Dremel and a few bits. You can make knives better. The relief cutout is much thinner than some of the other knives, so this doesn't really bother my pockets when I carry it. Action's terrific. The detent is dialed for the flick. I just think aesthetically this really speaks to me. I like the simplicity. I like the pivot is super simple. I like that it doesn't have any tooling on this side. It just gives it a cool vibe. I like the stone wash on the S35, and the jimping is nice. It's not too in your face. Overall, the main draw to this is the simplicity. I know there's a different version of it that maybe first came out. I think it was like a G10 or a micarta version, and it also came in a version that had like a crazy blade with like 2 tones on it. The simple version is for me. Imagine there was a flipper tab here. So I just think that takes away from this design right here, which also gives you a better grip, dude. That just feels really good. So this is definitely in my top 7. I carry it all the time. Shout out to the designer Blackbird Blades. I really like it, and it is currently in my top 7. That's the first one. Moving on to the next one. This is the Kizer Varatas. I love this design. The Kvist design. He's the designer that does the variant. I love that lock bar. That's kind of like the variant Production Edition 3. Has this angular lock bar. I just think that's a really cool touch. I love this little triangle. I love the square pivot. Man, this is just one of my favorite knives. I love the little touches the designer put into this. The clip is really unassuming, doesn't get in the way. I like that. I love the thinness they got with this, how thin it is. It goes in the pocket easily. Nice front flipper. One of the themes you'll see throughout all these is that I like simplicity. I like silhouettes that are pretty simple. You won't find anything super drastic with me. This has a nice hollow, I believe. Yeah, it's a hollow. A really good sized thumb hole. The flipper tab is nice. Front flipper. You can get the blade to swing out really fast. Really good lock bar access in that cutout. I think that's really cool. Again, this texture speaks to me. It's very fine texturing, and I think that's really cool. And they're triangles that match this. It's also really good detent for the front flipper. Look at that. Boom, bang, boom. Really comfortable. The way it kind of sits in your palm, the rounded off scale there. A lot of simplicity, but a lot of little complexities that are mixed in here, but it still feels overall simple. You get what I'm saying? This texture goes hard. If you look at it, that is detailed, but it's so small and fine done that it doesn't overtake the design. I really like the arrow pointing there. It's just cool. And that pivot square is so tight, dude. Jacob Lundquist, I believe that's his name. You know, he has a lot of success with the variant model. I think this was a nice design to come after that. It's not just like a reproduction of the variant. It's definitely something that kind of lives in the family of the variant, but holds its own design wise. I love this thing. And I will never get rid of it. I think they did an excellent job with this piece. All right, next up. Coniferous V. Now, this is a highly modified one. You're going to see a lot of these have mods. I like to just personalize my knives. But the Coniferous V really flies under the radar. It's called the Coniferous V because normally there's a spike that sticks up out of here. I cut it off, which serves as a lock bar stabilizer. You still get that stabilization with cutting the tip off. Maybe you get more contact onto the lock when it's the V because it matches directly up with the bar and stabilizes it. I also added a hole. It's not finished. Some of the mods I do for myself, I don't finish all the way. It just gets good enough. I'm like, yeah, that's good enough. But like if you look in there, you can see the grind lines on it still. I like to get that fine enough that you don't see it. But in this case, it's not. This is a user for me. I love the lock bar access. I want to say that I swapped hardware to make it all black and swapped the thumb stud too. And this is a clip from a different knife. I just kind of wanted to customize it. I want to say that maybe I'm wrong and this is the hardware that came with it, but I know that I did change the clip and I know that I modded the blade with that hole. So it's normally just a thumb stud. Aesthetically, this kind of gives me like Leon Ma vibes a little bit. It's still very simple, but the thing is about this knife, it's a solid micarta scale on the show side, but it's a titanium scale on the clip side with a liner lock in there. And this is like around $100, I want to say. Really good deal with 154 cm. So it's the titanium micarta 154 cm. Really neutral handle, comfortable in hand. The clip doesn't bother me. I just think that this is an underrated design. I do like the jimping on the handle back here. Kind of like gives you some grip in the palm. It's also rounded here, so it fits in the palm nicely. So ergonomics on this are neutral, but also like very good. When I saw this knife before I bought it, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a good mod platform. I really like this mod. It's one of my like favorite mods I've ever done. Yeah, it's just a cool under the radar knife from Kizer. Moving on, we're moving and grooving. Oh, dude, this is a legendary Kizer knife. A lot of people do know about, but I'm just going to talk about it more. It's in my top 5, definitely. This is the Kizer T1 titanium version. So this is the version that's been around for a long time. They have done a second version that is a more budget version. This one is in the lineup that rocks the S35V and titanium like I talked about. The T1 is a very simple silhouette with this handle that is very neutral. Again, I like the belly of the blade. I like this simple curve up top. Done. It feels way more expensive than what it's selling for. They nailed it with the lock bar pressure. The clip going with the flow there of the design is really nice. I like the name, the T1. I like the designer. He's designed other knives in my collection, but I just think he has a really simple aesthetic. I like the integrated lanyard hold in this case. It just feels like it's meant to be there. I'm not a huge lanyard person, but when the lanyard holes are integrated in a way that doesn't like interrupt something, it's just a very simple design and it does what it's supposed to do. It's a really good carry and pocket. I like the thinness. I do like this titanium backspacer that has the integrated lanyard hole. The silver hardware, it's just a very classy Kizer knife that I highly recommend to everybody. And the budget version of this is incredible. They did a really good like micarta version. I'll show it on the camera right now. I just think that it's really cool and they got the soul of this knife across in a less expensive version. This is like such a cool knife. It's always been in my top 5 of Kizer. It was always one that I looked at and when I didn't have it, I was like, wow, that's a cool knife. It's just good. Some knives are just good. It's very fidgety like a lot of the titanium Kizers and Kizers in general with the bearings. Just drops to your fingernail and that thumb stud action is so good, dude. It's so addicting to do this with the T1. Top of the list, probably. Somewhere near the top. But we still got some dope ones coming up here, dude. Really sick. What is that? Oh, that's a Kizer Original, a specific version that is kind of customized by me. I did some blade swaps and clip swaps to get this specific version with this like crystallized titanium finish that is like matte, stonewash blade with all silver hardware, and the Frag clip, dude, that's right, baby. I had like a Frag titanium one. I just thought that the Frag titanium version of this was too much Frag when it had the clip also, because it was the scales with Frag and the clip with Frag. I love this deep carry titanium clip they do. It's very cool. But this little texture in the clip I love. It's just the combination of everything I loved about this knife. This is the original titanium. It's the XL original. So this is bigger than the original ones that came out. So the button lock is so good on this, dude. So good. Very fidgety. No lock stick. Really simple silhouette here. I love the thumb studs. I love the plunge. I love this little like choil here. I think everything about this is super classy and just looks fresh, dude. I love the looks of this one. And although it's the XL, it still fits in pocket really well. And I'm happy that it's a part of this group. All of these get carried by me. I love them very much. So moving on to the next one. This one, I might have to say this is my favorite Kizer of all time. And I do think it flies under the radar. This is the Kizer Wanderer. It's a Lundquist design, who's still still very active on the scene, designing a ton of things, but this knife he designed for Kizer has to be one of like his earlier designs, because it does come, oh yeah, I changed the pivots on some of the older ones. They come with that, like, you know, the rose pivot on older titanium Kizer knives. I replaced that with new hardware. So it was on this, it was like a rose pivot, and I just like the simplicity of a simple silver pivot. This knife is so well done, so underrated. I should have almost saved it for the end, but this one right here is also very sick and high on my list. This is the Wanderer. Oh, dude, there's so much to say here. I love the rounding. This is like, there's no sharpness anywhere on this other than the blade. It feels so good in your hand, rounded off scales, lots of lock bar access. Oh yeah, big thing about this, it's on bearings. It takes a second to warm up because it's cold in the shop right now, but awesome blade, like nice upswept blade. Is it hollow? I don't think it's hollow. I think it's flat. No, yeah, it's a flat grind, I believe, but that big thumb hole is awesome. It really lines up with your middle finger to flick it. Lock bar access. I like cutouts like this, especially with simple scales. It just looks great. I really do love the simplicity of this piece. Even the clip has this rounding. You can see the rounding everywhere. Rounding, rounding, rounding. If you don't have this and you like Kizers, go get it. Wanderer. It will not let you down. It is the S35 VN Titanium, an older Kizer knife that I wish they would do some more with, because, like, for me, it's such a good knife. Bigger knife, definitely. Fits 4-finger grip on the handle. Even the spine, this is, dude, this is a crown spine, basically. Yeah, it is. It's a crown spine. I love the looks of this. It's classy. One of my favorite Kizer knives. Super underrated. Highly recommended. I don't know how many of these are on the market still, but this one's a winner. All right, last one, and one of my favorites. If you know me, you know I love this design. The Towser K by Kizer. This is an exclusive White Mountain knives. I modded it a little bit. All the hardware I acid etched, and this thumb stud I added that fits into the hole. It's a Frag titanium. It does have liners, but in this case, they don't bother me for some reason. They blend right in. Just look at this design, dude. When the Towser K came out originally, it was a thumb stud knife. I wanted to put a hole in it right away, and it actually was the knife I started modding the most right away. Before they did versions with the hole in it, I was doing Towser K mods, and then they started doing the hole, so I didn't have to do that anymore. But it's got this clutch lock here that you could change the tension. The Frag is really cool. White Mountain Knives exclusive mini version with the titanium. I just love the look. I love the sweep. It reminds me of the Spidey Chef, just different in a way. Really good slicer. Really high, tall, flat grind. Really fun to fidget with. I love the addition of this thumb stud. It makes it easy to flick, like with your thumb, while you still get the benefits of flicking with the hole. This one really speaks for itself. I think it's gorgeous. I like the acid wash accents. I think it really made it pop. Overall, the Towser K is a cool design, but this variant, the mini with titanium from White Mountain Knives, I think it's hard to get. I haven't seen them really pop up that much. I do like Kizer's Frag, but this one is my favorite. I like just like the wideness or the tallness of the blade. I like the choil, the way it's done, so you have a little area to choke up right here. Man, this is a winner. Towser K. Boom, that's it, dude. That's my 7th favorite. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm gonna try to do more videos like this, but these currently are my top Kizer knives. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace. See you later.